Cheese. Some say it's a delicious food product made from pressed milk curd left to ripen and age. And they are right. That is a fundamentally accurate description of what cheese very literally is. But literal cheese is for crackers. Figurative cheese? Well, that's just the glorious stringy goo that binds together some of the finest action films this side of 1967. Sure, cheesy action movies aren't in the same league as influential classics like Die Hard or T2 or Lethal Weapon, and sure, acclaimed films like these may have enviable and genre-defining legacies, but you know what they don't have? Ninja. Speaking of ninjas, on the one hand, American Ninja is a corny mess of hammy action, dire dialogue.
This massacre was the work of ninjas.
Ninjas?
Small trees filled with nitroglycerin, and stunts it's quite clear nobody wanted to film twice. On the other, it's a ninja movie, and was thus a useful way of educating kids growing up in the 80s. They didn't all have to be firefighters or train drivers when they grew up. When his dad is shot down 6,000 miles away, teenager Doug Masters steals a pair of fully armed multi-million-dollar fighter jets, invades a foreign country, and rescues him, literally assassinating a foreign leader on his way out. Iron Eagle is hilariously entertaining, but it really is the dumbest thing to ever take to the air this side of a 727 with Donald Trump's name on the side of it. There are 132 plot keywords associated with Showdown in Little Tokyo on its IMDb page. The first one is bare-chested male, which pretty much nails it. Lundgren is the star of the show, but the late Brandon Lee gets all the best lines, including this less than official version of the Miranda warning.
You have the right to be dead.
If The Rock was Michael Bay's signature dish, Bad Boys 2 is the 10-inch tall quadruple cheeseburger he whipped up after being given the green light to make a 9.5-hour long action epic with more distinct shootouts than I can remember and at least 11 billion car chases. Modern cheese at its most expensive. Best viewed as a live-action Team America that has no idea how funny it is. The Delta Force is an unapologetically old-school action extravaganza featuring America's favorite Ginger Ninja. Not convinced? Do motorcycle missiles help? Wacky martial arts mayhem from a well-meaning group of Hong Kong filmmakers who clearly thought Canada looks enough like New York and that American hoodlums hadn't changed their wardrobe since the late 70s. Rumble in the Bronx is still one of Chan's most memorable movies, despite the general hokiness. Stomping on the ground to collapse an entire segment of a cracked parking lot? I'm not so sure about that one, regardless of how hard Vin Diesel works on leg day. Still, just because Furious 7 is chiseled from pure cheddar doesn't mean it's not honest, outrageous fun.
Cars don't fly!
He's LA Detective Mason Storm. Mason Storm. That sounds like a superhero name a 5-year-old gives himself. A 5-year-old named Mason. Hard to Kill is quintessential Seagal cheese, and that's saying something considering how much of it the guy has made. Also contains either the worst one-liner in history or the best, depending on your criteria.
You can take that to the bank.
I'm gonna take you to the bank, Senator Trent. To the blood bank.
Preposterously over the top at times, but huge fun throughout, You Only Live Twice is the Bond film that launched 1,000 parodies, brought to the screen by the bloke who wrote Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. Let's be frank, this list could be virtually all Bond movies, but only one Bond movie is jam-packed with spaceships, a secret volcano lair, a piranha tank, a pussycat stroking bad guy, and ninjas.
Ninjas?
And that's this one. Escape from LA is derided by some as a big-budget remake of Escape from New York, but it really is a wholly different class of flick to its revered predecessor. Escape from LA is a post-apocalyptic cartoon brought to life, with the cheesiness dialed up to 11. You haven't seen anything until you've seen Kurt Russell low-five Peter Fonda while surfing down the LA River. Cryogenically frozen psychopath versus cryogenically frozen maverick cop in a future woefully ill-equipped to deal with either of them. Admittedly cleverer than it looks on the cover, Demolition Man still brings plenty of 21st century cheese to the table.
This is how insecure heterosexual males used to bond.
A ragtag group of American fighters, led by martial arts mastermind James Earl Jones, must take on the might of Team Korea in a tournament no one gives them a chance of winning. Aside from the fact that Eric Roberts cries at least 2 or 3 more times than anyone would expect,
Don't take that away from me.
and that it's hard to buy King Jaffe Jaffer as the leading Taekwondo expert in the United States of America,
You can do it.
best of the best is a satisfying slice of 80s feel-good fluff. Van Damme has a rich catalogue of earnest, entertaining cheese. The Muscles from Brussels has made a little over 50 movies and he's played dual roles in no less than 5. Double Impact gets the nod here because of JCVD's leg warmers and the fact that the fight between the twins is honestly a really well-edited stoush from a time before anyone knew what the acronym CGI actually stood for. This fun modern western pits a mysterious, murderous musician against an equally murderous Mexican drug lord, filled with gloriously silly shootouts that Antonio Banderas twirls, dances, and twists his way through. Desperado is pushed firmly into Cheeseville with the appearance of El Mariachi's band and their adorably impractical but ridiculously cool guitar cases of death. Peak Schwarzenegger at the pointy end of his physical power, The Running Man is a hysterically cheesy clash of spectacularly bad costumes and dodgy one-liners.
Here is Sub-Zero! Now, Plane Zero!
If only modern reality TV were half as interesting as Hollywood feared it was going to be. When terrorists invade the United States, who's going to stop them? The authorities, with their immense manpower and vast stockpiles of resources? Or one guy with a beard and a lot of denim clothes? If you said the latter, you came to the right place with Invasion USA. Tango Cash is like Lethal Weapon's younger, dumber brother.
Bad cop? Worst cop.
He's not quite as witty, but he's fun to be around and he can handle himself in a fight, and he drives a ridiculously impractical pickup. The choicest cut on this cheese platter is the long, lingering high five at the end. Just like John Carpenter's Big Trouble in Little China, the biggest mistake Last Action Hero made was being too far ahead of its time. A deliberately cheesy action satire, Last Action Hero floundered at the box office with audiences confused about whether the film was in on the joke or not. It was, and Schwarzenegger was in his element as the cliched, catchphrase-quoting, loose cannon cop Jack Slater. To the uninitiated, Face Off sounds absurd. It is absurd. Nothing about chopping off your own face and sewing your worst enemy's face on your skull in its place makes a shred of sense. But how else are you going to be able to unleash Nick Cage and John Travolta under strict instructions to act like the most utterly insane version of each other that they can muster? I rest my case. A potent 30-year-old mix of Kenny Loggins cock rock, aviators, and gratuitous shirtless volleyball, Top Gun may be showing its age a little these days, but for the love child of an Air Force recruitment video and a Ray-Bans commercial, damn if it doesn't still have the right stuff. The 90s is an underrated era for cheese, like somehow the fact that everyone got rid of their moustaches and stopped wearing high pastel pants meant we had to take everything a little more seriously than we used to.
Welcome to Con Air.
Con Air knows otherwise, and is made all the better by knowing that it was actually director Simon West's first feature film. His previous work? Directing the music video for Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up.
Put the bunny back in the box.
Bloodsport is the definitive Van Damme vehicle. Hey, sure, without Kickboxer, that one joke in Hot Shots Part 2 wouldn't have been anywhere near as funny. But in Bloodsport, Van Damme does the splits and punches a bloke so hard in the wedding vegetables that his grandchildren will double over in pain annually as the aftershocks of that seismic strike echo through the ages. That has to count for something. The bar fight. It's up there with the car chase and the obligatory awkward sex scene as one of the key reasons people tune into cheesy action movies in the first place. Roadhouse embraces this classic trope by making the whole movie a bar fight, broken up by regular sequences clearly concocted to put Patrick Swayze on screen without his shirt as often as possible. 5 mullets out of a possible 5 mullets.
I want you to be nice until it's time to not be nice.
If there's one thing John Rambo hates, it's communists. But if there's another thing, it's helicopters. If he's not shooting them, he's crashing them or using them for archery practice. This also explains this, the world's most unlikely head-on collision. Rambo 3 is stupid as hell, 2 thumbs up, would watch again.
Who are you?
The worst nightmare.
Commando is the king of cinematic cheese, a mound of Austrian oak-infused movie mozzarella so mammoth and stringy it never stops giving, no matter how much you yank on it.
And if he wants your kid back, then you gotta cooperate. Right?
Wrong.
This is seminal Schwarzenegger in every measurable metric, from biceps to body count. But the real magic of Commando comes from its unrivaled cornucopia of death-related one-liners.
Let off some steam, Bennett.
What are the odds this 80s fave will ever be matched?
No chance.
Hey, he said it. That's some of our favourite cheeseball action movies. What are some of yours? Be sure to check out the full write-ups on IGN, plus all our honourable mentions, and let us know any you think we've missed. And for everything else action, cheesy or otherwise, stick with IGN.